Hello again. Good morning, everyone. I think we have 65 people already joined the webinar.
Mislim, da imamo
We can
65 ljudi
slowly start, I believe, and
in
then
zato
if
bomo
someone will
začeli.
be joining in the last minute, they will just join us.
Če se
during
bo
the
pa še kdo
presentation.
pozneje
So,
priključil.
I see people from many countries here today.
Vidim,
So
da
thank
so
you so
ljudje
much,
številnih
everyone, for
držav
your
tukaj.
time. Those who are joining us
Tisti,
after
ki
the basic webinar, which was on Friday,
ste se nam
they
priključili
already know
po
the drill.
osnovnem seminarju v petek.
We will have a short introduction now. I will present
Nas že poznate,
the
ostalo bom
agenda and
predstavil.
just a little bit of communication rules
Predstavil
and
bom
the
dnevni red,
logistics of the
pravila
webinar itself.
komunikacije.
So if you've already been on Friday in our webinar, maybe you can have you can make yourself a cup of tea or something right now.
Če ste bili že v petek z nami, potem lahko prej popijete
Will be presented later.
en čaj.
But I will skip to the agenda and the speakers.
Najprej bom predstavil dnevni red,
Advanced
govorce,
version of the webinar presented by Jason.
potem bo Jason predstavil svoj webinar
He will introduce himself once
in se sam
he
predstavil.
starts his presentation. Myself, I'm just going to shortly present, like I said, the logistics of the webinar and a
Jaz bom
little bit
samo na
about
kratko
our
predstavil
company,
logistiko.
SolarEdge. And my colleague Nicola,
In
who is
Nicola,
responsible for sales in
ki je
SolarEdge
odgovoren
Balkan region.
za prodajo
He
na
will be here as
Balkanu.
well. He
On
will
bo
be there
tudi
for
tukaj.
those of you who would like to, for example, ask some questions to
On bo
Jason
tukaj
in
tudi
the
zato, če
webinar.
bi kdo
You
imel
can
kakšno
do that
vprašanje,
by going to Q&A section, as I see some people
kar lahko
already
zastavite
done.
v delu
So you can
vprašanje in
type your
odgovori.
questions there. You can type them in your language, and Nicola will
In
translate
lahko jih
it
zastavite v svojem
to
jeziku,
Jason
Nikola jih
in
bo pa
English, and
prevedel.
we will also have translation to your language. Speaking of
In
that, by the
prevod
way,
bo tudi v vaš jezik.
we have this webinar will be done in 2 languages simultaneously.
Naredili bomo
Those of you who
seminar
are
v
hearing
dveh
me
jezikih.
now, you can do that by you can switch to Slovenian
Lahko
language.
v slovenski jezik greste lahko
Globe icon,
tako, da
you see
pritisnete na tale
the
globus
panel on the bottom right. So
na dnu
you
vašega
need to
ekrana
select German, I believe.
in potem
Because
izberete
there's no,
German.
yeah, that's just the limitation of Zoom. If you select German language, you should be able to hear.
Če ste izbrali German
our
oziroma nemško, boste slišali slovenščino.
So if you have any questions about that, please ask.
Če imate kakšno vprašanje glede tega, kar vprašajte.
Also, I see that my colleague wrote in the chat how to do it precisely.
Mislim, da je tudi moj kolega že v chat napisal, kako se to naredi.
Convenient language channel for them, either
Izberite kanal, ki vam najbolj ustreza.
Okay, so just a few words before we actually start with the SolarEdge part. I just want to present a few.
Preden začnemo z SolarEdge.
For those of you who already work with us, I believe this will be not so very new
Za
information.
vse tiste, ki nas že poznate, tole ne bo tako zanimivo.
The knowledge about us.
Par besed o nas.
SolarEdge exists in the business of solar.
Koliko časa že obstajamo na področju solarne energije. Začeli smo na Češkem in potem po nekaj letih smo pa začeli z distribucijo. In začeli z solarno nastavitvijo.
By now we've become we could say recognized international distributor. So we don't work only in Europe, we work in different regions. We work in Middle East and North Africa. Generally, we right now have partners and clients in more than 30 countries.
Sedaj imamo partnerje in stranke v več kot 30 državah.
We supply equipment in the volumes of more than 150 megawatts.
In distribuiramo vso opremo za več kot 150 megavatov na leto.
We'll talk about our portfolio in a couple of slides. At the same time, we also have more than 10 nationalities. So I'm Ukrainian myself. I already mentioned my colleague Nicola, who is responsible for Balkan region. So we have a very international team in Solarity, which is very natural since we work in so many countries and so many regions. Right. We also have several offices. Our headquarters is based in Prague, but in Czech Republic. We'll talk about that in the next slide. Main role of Solarity is to help you focus on your business, which is installation of solar PV sites, either residential sites or commercial projects. So we are here to take care of everything that you need as a supply chain between the manufacturers and you. We are more than just a distributor, so this webinar is one of the proofs or one of the examples of added value that we bring to our clients and our partners. So we have the technical know-how. We provide different technical support from just written clarifications about your projects. If you have some project needs to something like this, like webinars or trainings, which we actually have Solarity Academy with running webinars and trainings throughout the year. You can subscribe to that through our website or through our newsletter. You can track, see what's the calendar of the webinars, such as this one for this year. We try to provide the best price on the market. We also have several partner program levels regarding to prices. As you probably know, as I said, if you already worked with us, then you know this. We provide local support, which is very important because we work in different markets, so we can help you with different grid regulation support regarding some certified inverters or equipment that is supported in your country. And we have logistic services which span throughout Europe and the whole world. So we know how to deliver from pallets to containers to megawatts from very different regions in the world, to basically any point on the map. Like I said, we have headquarters in Czech Republic, in Prague. At the same time, we have 4 offices throughout Europe, which is you see on the map in orange. And we also have office in Amman, Jordan, and Dubai, United Arab Emirates. And at the same time on the map, you can see in yellow the markets in which we operate mainly. So today's webinar is actually focused for Baltic markets, which is Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, and the Balkan region, which is in the south of Europe. As you know, so majority of you are joining from that region, I believe, I hope. In Europe, so as I mentioned, we have offices in Amman, Jordan, and United Arab Emirates, but today is the webinar for our European customers. So in Europe, we have more than 40 employees. We have a warehouse in Prague, our main warehouse in Czech Republic, in the center of Europe, which is very good for geographically for deliveries to different regions of Europe. In our warehouse, we keep more than 5 megawatts of equipment at all times. So that's including modules, inverters, cables, connectors, all types of accessories, batteries, and so on and so forth. In the last 12 months in Europe, we delivered more than 120 megawatts of such equipment to our partners. When we choose with whom we work, meaning what kind of equipment we represent, we try to select the best quality because given our history on the market, we realize that it's not sustainable to try to work with not not the best quality on the
ker
market,
da
because
je
then
najbolje delati z najboljšo
you
opremo,
can run into different problems
ker
in the
to potem
future with the
povzroča
warranties and
različne
so on. So we
težave.
are always very careful about our portfolio, what we add to our portfolio and
Zato
what we
smo
keep
vedno
there.
zelo
So you can be sure
skrbni glede
when you
našega
work with
portfelja,
us
kaj
and when
dodajamo.
you see some products that we represent, you can be sure that there was a lot of
In
thought
če
and a lot of
vidite, da
energy
prodajamo
put into the
določene
process
izdelke,
of
ste lahko prepričani,
selecting
da so najboljši.
different brands and different products into our portfolio. So
Izbiramo
you
med
can be sure
različnimi
about the
blagovnimi
quality,
znamkami,
and
izdelki.
it should be easy to sell for you, to easy to install, and it is a
Izdelki, ki so lažji za
proven performer
inštalacijo.
on the market. So you can see right now on the slide the different brands that we work
Tukaj
with,
vidite
and of
različne
course
blagovne
one of them
znamke, ki jih
is
zastopamo.
SolarEdge. Today whole presentation will be about. Both for residential offers, we offer
Delamo za
for residential
stanovanjske
projects, we
objekte,
offer everything from modules to, like I said,
od
accessories.
modulov
Also
do
now
dodatne
we see
opreme.
very big spike in interest to energy storage products and EV
Shkodovanje
products, so
energije,
EV charging for electric vehicles.
polnjenje
You can find it
električnih
on
vozil.
our website,
To
shop.solarity.cz.
najdete
You
na
can
naši
you can
spletni strani.
ask our sales representatives for different offers or suggestions
Imamo
if you
različne
have
ponudbe
such needs.
za
And
take
also
potrebe.
for commercial projects, we supply
Za
everything as well,
poslovne
from modules to
objekte
accessories.
en
You can see
ponudbe
our
dobavljamo.
project offers as well, I believe, on our website in
Tudi
the product section.
o tem je v razdelku
So we are your
izdelkov
solar partner. We are here not just for the sunny days. We aim to be your one-stop supplier from
Mi smo dobavitelj, ki
every
dobavi
need that
vse.
you have, and we also aim to help educate you and help you understand the latest
Pomagamo
trends
tudi
in the
pri
market. So today,
izobraževanju
I hope that the webinar about SolarEdge will be very helpful for you.
in
So
upam, da
at
vam bo
this
tale
time, I
seminar
would like to
pomagal.
pass. Oh no, just one more thing actually. Before I pass the word to Jason, I would like to test one feature in Zoom
Preden pa predam
and
besedo
offer
Jasonu,
you
bom še nekaj
all
napovedal.
about SolarEdge.
Imamo
So
anketo o SolarEdge
there is a question:
in
what makes you
sicer
use SolarEdge?
vprašanje, zakaj ste
And there are
izbrali
different
SolarEdge
answers. And what experience do you have with
in
SolarEdge
kakšne izkušnje imate
energy
z
storage systems? This webinar today
sistemi za
is
shranjevanje
for
energije.
experienced installers, so I hope that many of you will be able to answer these questions.
Upam, da vas
I
bo
would just
veliko lahko
like to give
odgovorilo
you
na tole
all
anketo,
like 1 minute or 30 seconds to
za
please give
katero
your
boste
answers,
porabili manj kot en
and then after that we can proceed. Great, I see already.
Vidim, da vas je že več kot ena tretjina odgovorila.
10 more seconds.
Še 10 sekund.
Very well. 50 people voted already.
Aha, že 50
So I
ljudi.
believe we can share voting results now.
Zato mislim, da lahko
I will
pokažemo
end
rezultate
polling and share results. So
in to so sedaj rezultati.
it's very interesting. Predictably, I believe that 74% of people
Nekako razumljivo,
are using
74
SolarEdge because of module level monitoring and optimization.
je spremljanje in optimizacija.
Very well that people selected also DC safety option. So I believe this is some food for thought for Jason and for our SolarEdge colleagues. And what experience do you have with energy storage systems? You already have installed, and majority have no experience but are
Velika
interested
večina nima nobenih
because
izkušenj.
their customers are very interested as well. So thank you very much for
Hvala
the
lepa
answers, and
za vse
yes,
vaše
I would
odgovore.
like to now, Jason, pass the word to you.
Sedaj pa predajam besedo Jasonu.
Okay, thank you. Good morning.
Hvala
I'm just
lepa,
going to
dobro
share my
jutro.
screen. Hopefully it will be the right screen.
Sedaj bom delil
If you could
zaslon.
just let me know if you can see that.
Povejte, če vsi tole vidite.
Yes, we can see it.
Excellent. Okay, so good morning, everybody. My
Sem
name is
takoj
Jason
dobil
Kirridge. I work for SolarEdge. I've worked for SolarEdge for
za
nearly
Solar
6 years now.
Edge, delam
I
6
started
let.
my career initially as a apprentice electrician. I worked
Najprej
my
sem
way
delal
up
kot
to an
električar,
electrical engineer. I started with SolarEdge
elektroinženir,
as a field engineer for 2 years and then
potem sem
technical
bil
marketing manager
inženir
for the
na
remainder.
terenu 2 leti.
I cover UK, Ireland,
Sedaj pa
Scandinavia, the
pokrivam
Nordics,
Združeno
the Baltics,
kraljestvo,
and what
Irsko,
we class as Middle East Europe, which is pretty much where you
Skandinavijo.
are. And that's it. I'm responsible for the products hitting the market, anything on the market, training,
Odgovoren sem za
anything that
izdelke.
you would like. So if you have any ideas that you see SolarEdge
Če imate kakršno
not
koli idejo, da bi
meeting
uporabljali
your
izdelke
needs, then just
SolarEdge,
contact me and I will do my best to make sure we
me
add those.
kontaktirajte,
And that's pretty much it. I'm here to help in any way that
vam
I
bom
can.
z veseljem
So
pomagal.
I've got my email on there. I will put my email
Tukaj
in the
imate
chat.
moj
As
elektronski
long as I
naslov,
remember where the
telefonsko
chat's
številko.
disappeared to. I think it's here. Nope. There we go. Nope. I'll find the chat in a minute and I'll put it on. So anyway, off for the presentation. You can see my emails on there, jason.k@solaredge.com.
Ja,
So let's begin.
moj elektronski naslov je na
So we've got
prezentaciji.
2 hours, but we will have a break in between, and at some point, naturally, in the progression of the slides, we'll pause, and hopefully that will be fine by everybody.
In na sredini
Silka,
prezentacije.
sorry for interrupting you. We are just very poorly hearing you. Can you please just check your connection because we cannot hear you properly.
Ja, glas je ni zelo, zelo dober. Jason bo poskusil nekaj narediti z glasom, da se bo bolje slišalo.
Okay, to proceed.
Jason sprašuje, če bi lahko naprej.
Okay, I shall carry on. So, one of the important things with SolarEdge, you've already picked up on the poll, is the
Ena od pomembnih stvari SolarEdge je
electronics, but there are other features on there where equally as important. And just to recap on the benefits of these,
tukaj na tem slajdu imamo prednosti.
we have lots of benefits with SolarEdge, and these are
SolarEdge
the
ima zelo veliko
advantages
dobrih
of Safety
lastnosti.
C. You're probably familiar with arc fault circuit interruption or arc fault detection.
Verjetno ste vsi poznate obločne napake,
Detecting
odkrivanje
an arc
napak.
is great because what that does, that allows you to know there's an arc. But unless you can do something about
To vam omogoča, da ugotovite, da gre za oblok.
So one way to stop an arc is obviously to remove the current.
In ena od,
You need to open the circuit.
kar lahko
Now, if
naredite, je, da
the
ustavite to.
particular string is shorting out to the array, that's very difficult to remove that because you would need to control the voltage
To
or
je
current
zelo težko, ker
at the
je
module.
treba
And
napetost.
to do that,
Excuse me, Silka, but there are some people that are saying that they cannot hear you very well. Would you have any headphones or any better microphone by any chance, or maybe speaking louder would be better? Silka, can you hear me?
sorry. Okay, so I will speak slower.
Thank you very much,
As I
Jason.
said, one of the benefits is that at the module, if you do fit an optimizer, as you
So,
know, that
če date na
optimizer
modul
controls the current,
optimizer,
it controls the voltage from the module.
potem nadzira
So
napetost
this is a great feature, and this is the
in to je zelo
Safety
dobra
C feature.
lastnost.
This allows us to send a signal or to
In
stop the keep alive signal, I should say.
tem lahko
So
pošljemo
every
signal.
time the inverter is on and we are producing every 40 milliseconds
In to se proizvaja vsakih
signal sent
40
from the
milisekund.
inverter to the optimizers to tell them to keep alive, to stay on.
In
As
to
soon
bo
as
tle
that
signal
signal is lost,
optimizerju, da
that
naj
would be
ostane
if the
prižgan.
cable was cut, if it was unplugged, if you were to turn the AC off, or
Če
if you were to
izključite
turn the
izmenični
DC
tok,
isolator, or simply switch the inverter to off position.
samo
Then the heat drive
inverter
signal
izklopite
stopped. All the optimizers would automatically drop to 1 volt.
in optimizer
Dropping to 1
avtomatsko
volt
gre na 1
allows
volt.
you to have on a commercial string 50 volts per string maximum.
In največ
On
na
a
enem
residential
nizu je
25
50
volts
voltov.
maximum per string, and also it removes the current level from about 15 amps, 14 to 15 amps, which is in a normal string, to about
Odstrani
200
tok.
to 300 milliamps. So we have our fault circuit interrupter. This
Imamo
detects
prekinjevalec
an arc,
toka,
a
ki je
parallel
aktiven.
arc or a series arc, and then using the safe DC, we then turn
In
off the optimizers. We stop the optimizers
na
from
to z varnostnim
voltage
stikalom
through,
optimizer
reduce the
ustavimo.
current to below 300 milliamps. This then reduces the arc, because the
In s
arc is
tem se potem oblok zmanjša.
a jump between two conductive pieces of equipment through air. So that reduces the current and therefore stops
In
the arc.
s tem se potem tok
Having
zmanjša.
arc fault circuit interrupter or arc detection that you see other inverters have, other manufacturers have, is great, but you must have a way of controlling that current. And the only
In vsekakor morate imeti
is the
način,
SolarEdge
da ta
optimizer
tok
without
lahko zmanjšate.
this controls the current and reduces it from 14 to 15 amps, which we tend to run,
S tem se
to
tok zmanjša na
300 to
14 do
200
15.
milliamps, as I said. The beauty of this is if you want to remove a module, if you have a faulty module, or you need
Kar je dobro, če želite en modul zamenjati
access, or maybe some extra equipment is being installed on the roof,
ali pa dodatno
simply
opremo,
switch off the inverter,
samo
and it's
izklopite
perfectly
inverter,
safe for you to then open that string, break that string. There's no
odprete
faulty
niz,
voltage. The voltage is below 50 volts or 25 volts.
zmanjšate napetost na
Current is
pod
reduced.
50
It's safe
voltov,
for you to work on that roof, safe for you to do fault finding.
potem
There's
delate
no
na tem,
risk
odkrijete
of
napako.
high voltage or high current. With the panel level monitoring, it's very easy to see which modules are shaded, which modules
Zelo
have
z lahkoto vidite, kateri modul je zasenčen,
every module has plus or minus 3% energy difference.
označuje
And
razliko
if it was
plus
a
minus
traditional
3%
system, you
energije,
will be operating at the lowest performing module. So SolarEdge
kateri
allows
dela
pretty much
z
for each
najnižjo
module or each
energijo.
pair of modules to work at their optimum performance.
In tako lahko vsi moduli delajo
You
kar
can
najbolje.
record all this information. All this is available in the analysis tab, and it will
Vse
go
to
back to the
lahko
day you installed
spremljate
it.
v
So there's
analizi.
no time limit on the information, like 2 days, a month, a year.
Lahko
It's
nastavite
very, very good. And we
različne
can go back
časovne
as far
okvire.
as 2012 in the UK. That's when we installed the first system. So 2000, 2011 and 2012.
V Angliji smo prve
You can go
take
all the way back
sisteme
into some
namestili
installation and see
2011, 2012.
exactly what each optimizer was doing, each inverter on that particular day, the first day.
In še vedno lahko vidimo, kako je
The other
delovalo na ta
beauty
prvi
is that
dan.
you have a minimum of 6 MPPTs per string, or 8 MPPs, or
Lahko
14.
imate
The
različne
optimizer you use, and this is a
6,
single phase or
8,
dual phase.
14 sledilnikov točke
This
največje
is
moči.
great because it can then increase and decrease the voltage and the current
Ker s
to
tem potem lahko povečate
maximize
ali
the
pa
power
zmanjšate
efficiency, or
napetost
you
ali tok.
adapt for shading. Now remember, shading
In
is
s
not
tem se
the
prilagodi
shading that you
senčenju.
see on day one when you're there looking. Shading is anything. Shading can be animals, birds, cats, like
Senco lahko
so it's
predstavljajo
birds. It
vse
can be birds sitting on there. It can be snow. It can be
živali,
soil.
ptica,
It can be clouds. That's shading.
oblaki,
Anything.
drevesa.
Shading is not static. Shading does not stay in
Senčenje
place.
ni
The
statično.
tree that you might see when you install the array
Mogoče je to
in 5 years'
lahko
time will grown and obviously
drevo
reduce the shade.
zraste
So it's very important
in potem meče
that
senco.
you adapt and make sure
Zato je
you
zelo
hit the
pomembno, da
balance
se lahko
points.
temu
And it's
prilagodimo.
nice to see on the poll that you had that you already realized the beauty and benefit of the panel.
Zanimivo je, da ste to tudi v
I've already
anketi
spoken about artful circuit
ugotovili, da je
interruption.
zelo
There's
pomembno.
only one standard at the moment. There's another standard, an IEC standard, which is in draft form. That's not
Trenutno imamo
finished
samo
yet.
en
That's
standard,
only
drugi se
draft. So
pripravlja.
this is the only standard the world has at the moment for
In
artful
trenutno
circuit
imamo
interruption.
samo ta
It's an
standard
American standard, a North
na
American
svetu.
standard. As I said, the IEC is in draft.
Drugi standard se
we've had a
pripravlja.
look at that. We know our optimizer is perfectly fine and incredibly safe for this standard. So we will be able to
Standard, ki bo
meet the
zelo
new
varen.
standard, the new IEC standard when it arrives. But at the moment, the only standard out there available is the UL 1699B.
Trenutno je pa tale UL
We have the
1699.
adaptability with our inverters.
Naši inverterji so zelo
Which is the
prilagodljivi.
SolarEdge term for storage, so storage,
Za SolarEdge,
EV for electric vehicles, and
za
also
električna
smart
vozila
energy.
in za
So
pametno
all these
energijo.
are available to you. Some require a different inverter.
Nekateri so že na razpolago, nekateri zahtevajo drugačen inverter.
Is a EV charging single phase inverter. It's based on
Imamo
storage
polnilec za električne
storage
avtomobile.
that's available in both single phase and three phase.
Oboje je na voljo za enofazno in trofazno.
As we said here, it's all available, and from 2016 onwards, you can have the storage, the EV, and the smart energy, and that just requires
2016 imamo tudi shranjevanje energije in pametno energijo.
Because all of our systems, we prefer them to be online. We would
Vse
say
naše sisteme imamo online,
issues we can diagnose and resolve remotely.
zato da lahko rešujemo
So we can
težave.
monitor your system as you can. We can dial in.
Spremljamo vaše sisteme.
We can talk to the inverters. We can see.
Lahko se pogovarjamo z inverterji.
We can adjust the settings on the optimizers.
Lahko namestimo nastavitve na optimizerjih.
Confident we can resolve 95% of all.
In 95% težav lahko rešimo nadaljavo.
To speak to SolarEdge, how to contact them, how to report a case. We'll cover that today as well.
Prišli bomo do tega, kako sporočite težavo.
Because we do storage, we do smart energy, we do EV,
Ker imamo shranjevanje, imamo pametno energijo, električna vozila, smo enotna točka za stik za vse izdelke in da so izdelki kompatibilni. Vse lahko pošljete na isto elektronski naslov, telefonsko številko. In zagotavljamo zelo visoko raven vseh izdelkov.
Probably the next day you might be speaking to someone about EV or smart energy or storage. You might be speaking to
vsem se lahko pogovarjate na isti številki.
So we'll just quickly go over artful circuit interruption first of all.
Najprej si bomo pogledali prekinitev obločnega toka.
I've already said in the just to catch up that basically it's the arc that can start the fire. It's the arc that raises the temperature, and that can.
Običajno je oblok.
With the power optimizers, we could do that. We can simply turn off.
Ki ga pa rešujemo z optimizerjem moči.
14 to 15 amps, say, down to 200 to 300 milliamps. We can reduce that arc.
In s tem lahko zmanjšamo ta oblok.
Too far. And it's very, very simple to install. It doesn't come automatically set.
Zelo enostavno ga je namestiti.
What you have to do at the moment is using setup, or if you have the LCD screens, it's still available from 2016. So
Lahko
the LCD
uporabite LCD ekran,
simply go to maintenance,
greste
after
na
connection
vzdrževanje,
to setup, to the inverter,
na
you then go to
nastavitve,
maintenance, you then
inverter,
go to
vzdrževanje.
circuit interruption. As you can see on here, it's disabled.
Kot vidite,
It's
tukaj
just
je
here, this bit
onemogočen.
here, it's just disabled, and then you click on that, you click on the arrows here,
Kliknete
and you switch
in
the
ga
name on,
omogočite.
and that's it done. Now we will be releasing a firmware. I think we're 2 firmwares away. Well, it automatically will set the arc faults.
Mislim, da bomo uvedli opremo, ki ga bo avtomatsko namestila.
Setup. You've probably seen this. It's an app
Verjetno ste to že
on
videli.
Google Play or your iPhone, Android. Sorry, your iPhone. I can't remember
S
what
svojim
it's called,
pametnim telefonom
but it's on the app store, app stores.
imamo
And
aplikacijo,
you download it. The apps are free. We
ki jo
have Setup,
naložite.
we have Mapper, we have Monitoring app. We also have for your customers
Imamo
My SolarEdge.
različne aplikacije.
So you can download all the apps, they're all free, and once you
Lahko
get it
vse
set up,
nas
you can then communicate to the inverter.
namestite in potem komunicirate preko
Most
aplikacij.
smartphones won't have an issue with it. I think it's as far back as 2006, the operating software on phones.
Od leta 2006 imamo že to programsko
You can use
opremo.
a phone, you can use a tablet.
Lahko
Basically, any device
uporabljate telefon, tablico
connect using Wi-Fi. You don't have to have
in se
this
povežete z Wi-Fi-jem.
like permanently on. You don't have to have a SIM card in it, just as long as it can connect to the Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi zadostuje, ne rabite nobene SIM
First of all,
kartice.
make sure that the app is updated, so you would do that
Prepričajte se samo, da imate ves čas posodobljeno.
if you didn't have a SIM card or just using your mobile phone, and it will update automatically.
Se pa tudi avtomatsko
Connect
posodablja.
to it by simply scanning the QR code on the side of it.
S QR kodo skenirate.
Kinds of devices on there. Now, one of the questions I had this morning was about grid protection and can I change it? Well,
Eno vprašanje danes je bilo glede zaščite omrežja.
You can use to change this. So should you be asked to
In v aplikaciji lahko tole izberete in spremenite.
and under frequency and over frequency. If you can change those, you can. Okay, and you do need a
Lahko
pass.
spremenite frekvenco, potem boste lahko spremenili tudi to.
And I will send you the application notes on how to do it.
Kontaktirajte me, pa vam bom poslal
The
navodila,
setup
kako to narediti.
automatically updates the firmware onto your phone, so there's no need for a SD card as we used to do it back in the day.
Ni nobene potrebe po SD karticah, vse se avtomatsko posodablja.
Allows you to access everything on there.
In vse lahko do vsega dostopate v aplikaciji.
The App Store. It does the firmware upgrade and activation. Sometimes this can take a few
Posodobitve,
moments,
aktivacije.
depending on how long the inverter's been on the shelf for. Generally, it takes about 6 months at the most.
Običajno je inverter v skladišču največ 6 mesecev.
Plant to get into your distributor, then getting to you.
In potem pride do distributerja in do vas.
We've updated the firmware, we've changed things, we've added things.
In mogoče smo vmes kaj dodali.
5 or 10 minutes sometimes, depending on the gap between the firmware that you have on the
In
inverter
zato posodabljate programsko opremo na vašem telefonu.
So once you've done that, that's it. You won't need to spend another 5 or 10 minutes there.
In zato boste porabili 5 do 10
Then
minut.
set the country, the language,
Nastavite državo, jezik
and then configure the system.
in konfiguracijo
So
sistema.
there's the apps there.
Tukaj le
Mapper,
dobite aplikacijo.
Monitoring one, and then the setup. There's also a PV self-consumption app which you can download. It just gives you an idea of what sort of array you would need.
Tukaj lahko vidite, kaj vse lahko delate s to aplikacijo.
If you haven't got an account with SolarEdge and it's your first
Če
time,
še nimate računa pri SolarEdgeu,
you can register
se lahko registrirate
install and you can create your account.
in ustvarite svoj račun.
Account, then you just put your email and your password will
upišete
be there.
elektronski
If
naslov.
you have new people joining your team to work
Če
for
so
you,
naprimer novi ljudje
best
pridejo,
place is to go to your account. So
lahko
that's
gredo na vaš
you're there, go to users.
potem greste na
Add
uporabniki
that way. That's the best way, rather than everybody opening up a new account.
in dodate uporabnike, kar je bolje, kot
It's
če
very
vsak
straightforward.
odpira svoj.
You need to fill out some.
Tukaj vidite polja, ki jih je
Some you
treba
have to fill
izpolniti.
out, and some you don't.
Nekatere morate,
See
vse pa
when
ni
you do
treba.
it. And once you've done it,
Ko ste to
you've got
naredili,
a QR code to scan.
skenirajte
Switch
QR
underneath,
kodo
that you need to hold, and please, when you do it, please, you don't need to hold it any more than 2 seconds. If just hold it 2 seconds, just go 1, 2, and release. That's all you need to do.
samo 2
It will
sekunde. Preštejte 1, 2.
and then it will allow you to get into the commission screen.
In potem boste prišli na zaslon
That you need,
splet.
please email me. We'll try and
Če
get that
jezika,
sorted
ki
for
ga
you.
rabite,
And
ni,
likewise, if you don't have any settings,
mi
regional
pošljite
settings,
elektronsko
if you don't have
pošto
those, please email me and we'll try and get them
in
added
bomo
for you.
poskušali dobiti.
There is a generic Europe EN, I think it's this one, or it might be a 505 or 506 now,
Je
that you can use. So if you don't
lahko
have your
uporabite
please email me. and we'll get them
generično
set
kodo
up.
za Evropo.
Pairing is
Potem
three
pa,
different ways to pair. One, we've already
kako
talked about,
vzpostavimo
is holding the
povezavo.
switch for more than 5 seconds in the P position. The second
Spet
one is
na
using
P.
setup and pairing. And the third one is via the monitoring. You go to your monitoring site,
In
you
potem
can
greste na
click on the inverter, and
stran
it
za
says
spremljanje.
task or an operation. Click on that and you have two. One is AC reset, which just
In kliknete, ena je resetiranje izmeničnega toka
three ways you can pair. So if the
in
weather's,
povezavo vzpostavljate na 3 načine.
or it's quite late when you finish the job and you haven't paired it, very simple. Next morning, about midday, you can just go to the site and you can pair it remotely.
In zelo je enostavno, ker lahko kadarkoli
Commissioning,
vzpostavite.
we use the
Potem
term
za zagon.
RS485. You can actually get a cable called RS485 cable.
Lahko sicer povezavo vzpostavite s kablom.
Meters of cable for the entire site. If you use Cat5 or Cat6,
Če uporabljate CAT 5 ali 6,
this will limit your communication distance to 100 meters.
to omeji komunikacijo na 100 metrov.
RS485 cable is what we recommend.
Zato priporočamo ta kabel.
You've got two things on here you might have noticed is now we've changed it to monitoring communication and site communication.
Sedaj smo spremenili tole na spremljanje komunikacije in komunikacije lokacije.
So this could be Wi-Fi, this could be GSM.
Lahko se povežete z Wi-Fi-jem, GSM-om
That sort of things, or just general internet.
ali pa samo na splošno.
Site communication underneath. Again, we've had another change. We've called it follower and leader. So
Komunikacija lokacije.
there's one leader and up to 31 followers.
Imamo lahko enega vodjo pa do 31 sledilcev.
The meters as well. The inner meter, which is a mid-approved meter, and the SolarEdge energy meter for import and export. You simply just press on the arrow.
Pritisnite na puščico
And you just follow the fields.
in potem izpolnite polja.
Which is new, or newish, is that when you detect your followers, you can actually see how many
odkrijete sledilce,
you can see their serial number and the
lahko potem vidite serijsko številko
so you get the confidence that everything is reporting in before you leave site.
in s tem se prepričate, da je vse v redu, preden greste.
This information to take pictures of your connections, the RS485 connections, so you can then pass them on to support should there be an issue.
In lahko to tudi slikate, pa potem pošljete
The most
podpori.
important one is the summary page your status page. And this here
Tukaj je pa stran s
what's going on,
statusom.
your production, your site limit, how many inverters,
Tukaj imate proizvodnjo, omejitev, inverter,
voltage, frequency, and
napetost,
with the optimizers
frekvenco,
performing, and also
optimizerje.
SOK. You must have this S_OK. That's very
To
important.
obvezno morate imeti
You're
tole
communicating to our
SOK.
servers, and our servers are communicating back to you.
Če ne, potem kontaktirajte naš servis.
And then you can see on here, when this opens up, you simply scroll the page up.
Samo premaknete se navzgor
You've got SOK here. We're using
in vidite
Ethernet.
tukaj SOK.
Just general stuff here, DC power, voltage, and
Vsi
things
podatki
like
so tukaj,
temperature, isolation
temperatura,
value. This is the
izolacija.
one of the checks that the inverter will do.
To so preverjanja, ki jih naredi inverter.
When it's switched on or when it's available to start, it
Če
will do an
prižgan,
isolation value check. Anything under 352 kiloohms and the inverter will start. Also performs
vse pod
interruption check
350 kiloohmov.
as well before it starts, and then it produces, and that's it. Obviously, grid check. You can see on here the Modbus
Tukaj
RS1
vidite
and RS481 for
Modbus.
the old terminology of slave, which is now leader and follower. So each inverter has two RS485 connections, unlike the
Vsak
LC.
inverter ima dve povezavi,
Two buses, one for
dve
connecting
vodili,
inverters together and firefighter gateways and consumer control gateways.
prehode, kontrolne prehode.
You can have either or, it doesn't matter which one you use.
In lahko imate katerega koli.
We do have more specific power controls. Again,
Imamo še bolj specifične nadzornike moči.
advanced settings, and you can change this to suit your region should you need to.
In če je potrebno, lahko spremenite na svojo regijo.
It allows you
Vzdrževanje,
to look at diagnostics, so
diagnostika.
optimizers. It allows you to look at isolation value as well, do the inbuilt isolation test,
Tukaj lahko pogledate izolacijo,
and also
naredite test,
information gives you the latest firmware, serial numbers,
serijske številke, programske opreme, serijske številke.
We have, as you know, we no longer have a screen, but there's reasons for that. One of the most important ones was that it allows the inverter to go in a much colder temperature because the liquid
Imamo tudi, lahko inverter je lahko tudi v veliko nižjih temperaturah.
now the inverters will go down to -40. We did have a separate
Včasih smo imeli za to poseben ekran.
regions years ago when we had the LCD, but now all the inverters go down to -40.
Sedaj so pa vsi inverterji
Because we
primerni
don't
za
have
do
the
-40.
screen on it, we have
Zato nimamo več ekrana.
This basically allows you to understand what the inverter is doing. And the most important one of all is the blue one. Okay.
Najbolj pomemben od
This is
vseh je
looking
moder.
at, different things. Okay, so basically the blue being on is communication. So this
Če je modra prižgana, to je komunikacija.
generally you have the blue one is on permanently, and the green one is either blinking or solid.
Zelena
Different
je
things.
pa
This is
bodi
the
si
error
utripa
times, okay?
ali pa je ves
This
čas
is the
prižgana.
percentage of production.
To so
You'll be
odstotki
able to
proizvodnje.
diagnose all this when looking at it, but generally the only thing you're concerned about and the main important one is this.
In tole je najbolj pomembno.
The green one is flashing when there's no
Zelena
production, and
utripa.
the green one is solid when there is production. And we do have a website here.
Tukaj je tudi spletna
Just
stran.
simply go to SolarEdge.com and then type in LEDS. So LEDS afterwards, and you'll be able to see all of the different settings. But generally,
Tukaj boste videli vse različne
blue
nastavitve.
is on, green is either flashing or green is solid.
Običajno je modra prižgana, zelena utripa ali ne.
This is a communication board here. It's the
Tukaj je
new one.
komunikacijska plošča.
And if you start at the 12 o'clock position here,
Če začnete s položajem navzgor,
some slots here, and this is the slot for the GSM.
tukaj je
So
za
now you can use
GSM.
cellular technology. It's also the the slot for a new product which is coming up, which
Tukaj je
I will
tudi vstop
it's
za
a
nov
new
izdelek,
communication that we're working on. We also have on here for
na katerem delamo.
communication between home automation or smart energy devices here.
Tukaj imamo tudi del za naprave
This
za
button here is
s
to
pametno
keep
energijo.
everything going should there be a power failure or should the inverter be turned off.
Tukaj je, če
You
se
lose power,
inverter
like a memory
ugasne, če
device,
zmanjka
backup
elektrike.
memory. Here is your Wi-Fi antenna. The
To je
Wi-Fi
antena za
is,
Wi-Fi,
comes included. All you need to do is purchase
ki
the
je
antenna
priložena.
if you want to use the Wi-Fi. This is also how the inverter itself connects to your mobile phone. So because you
In
have a
tako se
Wi-Fi
inverter poveže z vašim mobilnim
you can use the
telefonom.
setup. Range of this is about 6 meters. So you don't have to
Doseg je približno 6
standing
metrov,
above the inverter to get communication. You can be about 6 meters away.
lahko ste okrog 6 metrov stran.
Coming down the bottom,
Spodaj,
we have what we call the power reduction interface.
tukaj je umestnik za zmanjšanje
To
moči.
be controlled remotely. So it could be from a utility company via
In tole se
like a
lahko
GSM
nadzira
device.
oddaljeno,
The utility company tells the inverters to turn off or to
naprimer
power
iz
down.
komunalnega
Or you
podjetja.
could link it into your diesel generator or backup generator. So when the backup
Tukaj lahko
generator comes
povežete
on,
z generatorjem
it will reduce power.
in s
It
tem
does it
zmanjšate
in
moč.
either in turning off completely, so the AC remains on,
Tudi lahko
power
izključite.
reduced, or we have 60%, we have 30%.
Imamo
and we have
160,
So there are three
30%.
different stages. So you can reduce the power. So your
Kar
utility
pomeni,
company
da
can
lahko
reduce the
zmanjšate
power of the
moč
inverters from
od 100 na 60 na
moving
30%.
along, we have RS451 and RS452. As I
Tukaj
said,
imamo
both of these are supported.
za
They both
kable, ki
work.
so
You can have the inverters
vključeni.
connected in either of them, and the same for the meters in either of them. These are your end of line switches up here.
Tukaj so
The one on
stikala
the
za
left
konec
is
linije,
RS451. The one on the right here
eden
is
v desni.
RS452. We have a USB device here.
Tukaj je
Plug
za
your
USB.
phone charger in. So if you're worried about your battery not lasting while you're doing your
Če se bojite, da baterija ne bo zdržala,
to the inverter, you can plug your cable in here and you
lahko
can
tukaj
charge your
priključite
battery
kabel
on your mobile phone here as well.
in tudi
And
mobilni
here's the
telefon.
Ethernet, which is standard. Simply plug this in
In
and away we go.
Ethernet, ki ga
The other
samo
connections on
priključite.
this side are for the LED and also for the switch.
Tukaj je za stikalo in za LED.
It's the same communication board used in the SE 1000M, so the compact range, all the way up to the Synergy range. So it's exactly
In iste naprave se uporabljajo tudi za druge naprave.
three-phase storage.
Uh,
As I said, we do have single phase, but this is a three-phase one.
Tukaj imamo
And we'll look at
trifazni
the products now.
inverter.
So this is a different inverter.
To je drugačen
It's
inverter.
like a normal inverter, but it's slightly longer. If you imagine a normal inverter would finish about here,
Vidite, da je malo daljši.
and the part underneath here, this has got the DC to DC conversion in.
Tukaj v spodnjem delu je razvodnik iz enospetnega v izmenični tok.
Into the inverter. So this is the inverter here. We then need a meter.
Potem rabimo števec,
We'll look at this meter later on as well.
pozneje ga bomo
This meter
pogledali.
here obviously measures the import and export, and
In meri uvoz in izvoz
gives the information to the inverter. The inverter is the brains.
in daje
It's either
informacije
to charge,
inverterju.
discharge, or to just stand by. Batteries themselves, we
Baterije.
have LG Chem and we have BYD. These are 48 volt batteries. There will be more
Imamo
batteries
48-voltne baterije, dveh
coming.
vrst.
Different amounts of batteries coming, the values and things like that. I have an application note and I will share it
Prihajajo tudi različne baterije.
afterwards, and then you can all see that. we do have a list here of the batteries that are compatible. So
Tukaj imamo
the inverter
seznam
itself is a
kompatibilnih
5, 7,
baterij.
8, and 10. It discharges at 5 kilowatts. So if you're using the 8 version, you really only need the 5 kilowatt version. If you're using DC
Rabite
current,
v
PV,
resnici samo
it's 10 to 7. If
5
you're only using AC
kW.
coupled, because the battery inverter discharges at 5 kilowatt, then you only need 5 kilowatt.
Zato ker baterija
Warranty is 12
da
years.
samo 5
Here is the
kW.
LG Chem list here. There are a couple more added on.
Tukaj so kompatibilni modeli, nekaj jih še dodajamo.
Note, and then we've got battery box, and then we've got the LVS. The LVS is the latest battery from BYD.
Najnovejše so LVS.
Yeah, you can use two different manufacturers at the moment, and there will be a generic data sheet.
Sedaj imamo dva proizvajalca.
Other batteries and use those.
V prihodnje bomo imeli tudi generične.
We've got the supported system configurations.
Tukaj imamo konfiguracijo podprtih sistemov.
Inverter, the storage inverter I've just shown you.
Inverter, baterija,
This is supported.
kaj je podprto.
We've got an inverter with 2 batteries.
Tukaj imamo inverter z 2 baterijama.
We've got SolarEdge inverter and other inverters and batteries.
Tukaj imamo 2 inverterja.
And then we've got multiple inverters with
Potem več inverterjev z več baterijami.
That's already available.
To je že na voljo.
And then we've got using third-party installation. So
Potem je pa izolacija tretje stranke, inverter in baterija.
So the only thing you're waiting for now is the more than one battery per
Na
inverter.
kar čakamo sedaj je več kot ena baterija. Vse ostalo je na voljo.
On here, the BYD is up to 24 kilowatt hours in one tower. I'll just go back to the previous side, and you can see on here the LVS here.
Tukaj vidite LVS 24.
This is what it looks like.
Takole izgleda.
It's slightly different to the normal inverter because we have.
Malo se razlikuje od običajnega inverterja.
We'll see why later in the presentation why you have those. You've still
Pozneje vam bom pokazal, kaj je tole.
DC connections here. You've got the LED.
Tukaj so priključki za enosmerni tok.
AC gland, and then we have the battery connections here.
Potem pa še priključki za
So the antenna
baterijo.
can actually go at the bottom with the inverter, like here. You don't have to run it and connect it on the top.
Lahko priključite spodaj, ni treba zgoraj.
So inside, you'll recognize the same communication board.
Tukaj je enaka komunikacijska plošča.
What you can see on here is slightly different. Is that we've got this little bit added on, which is
Tukaj
called the
vidite, to
battery
smo dodali.
communication. This is CAN bus. All
To je
the
CAN
cables
bus.
themselves come with the equipment, so they just simply plug in. You don't have
Tukaj
to
samo
purchase
priključite
different cables
opremo.
of different lengths. Here is the Ethernet connection. Here is the
Tukaj je
RS405
Ethernet.
connection, and that's going to the meter here, as you can see.
In števec.
So let's have a look at how it would impact on your design.
Sedaj pogledamo, kako to
So
vpliva
here
na
is the
vašo
PV
osnovo.
array here. Here's the power optimizers,
Tukaj imamo
your energy
optimizator
meter,
moči,
your inverter, and your
inverter,
battery. So it's 48 volt battery. Connected to the
24
CAN
voltna
bus.
baterija
You can have BYD or you can have LG.
in baterije. Dveh vrst.
Okay, let's have a quick look at what happens now. You can connect 3 different loads to it because obviously it's a 3.
Tri različne obremenitve lahko povežete.
The meter itself will connect,
Števec,
and the battery will connect,
baterija
and the PV connects to it.
in fotovoltaika.
There's the meter connecting with the 3 CTs, 1 per phase, and
In
please
tukaj imamo en
also note
CT za
that
vsako
L1 is
fazo.
connected to L1 CT, and also L1 is on here shown as the
In tukaj so
L1. So please make sure the
priključki.
phases correspond. And then last of all, you've got your internet connection, which could be wireless,
Potem imamo pa še
could be used
povezavo na
direct to the
internet.
modem, or could be GSM. And you can see this on your
Lahko
monitoring
tudi
platform as well.
GSM.
So the installation of the products.
Kako izdelke
We're going to look at mounting the inverter, installing the battery,
inverter,
connecting the
baterijo,
inverter, connecting the battery to the inverter, and commissioning by setup.
in kako potem zaženemo sistem.
So there's a couple of rules here. The first one is clearance, simply
Tukaj je
because
zelo
the
pomembna
inverter needs
razdalja.
to dissipate its heat. You can see on here there should be
Zaradi
exactly the same
toplote,
as what you're familiar with, 40 centimeters on top,
40 cm
10
najmanj
centimeters
spodaj,
to the side and 10 to the
po
bottom.
strani 10, spodaj 10.
Distance between the battery and the inverter
Potem
is a minimum of
razdalja
40
med baterijo
centimeters,
in
but you must
inverterjem,
have a cable of 5 meters here. That's the
5
most you can
metrov
have.
kabla,
So maximum cable length is 5
to,
meters.
to je
This is the
najdaljši.
DC side, okay? DC side. It's the same bracket with all inverters.
Gre za
You
isti
install it
nosilec
exactly the same way. You then hook the inverter on the wall and
in
you do the
potem
two screws up on
inverter
the side. But with this
pridržite na
particular
steno.
one, you have a couple of bolts underneath, so you have a bracket just to
Tukaj
keep you
imate
underneath.
nosilec,
Similar
vijake
to the
spodaj.
DC safety unit. So if you're familiar with the DC safety unit that SolarEdge have on their inverters, it's
Če
exactly
že
the same.
poznate varnostne enote,
Once you've done that, you can then remove the cover and
Odstranite
you're left
pokrov.
with this part here. So this is the inverter part, as I said.
To
And
je
then underneath
del
is a
inverterja,
DC to DC conversion.
To je pretvorba
Um,
v enoodmetno.
what you need to do, obviously, is to make sure that the DC is either 35 mil or 50
Tukaj se
mil.
morate prepričati, da je
35
enoodmetni
mil.
tok
50 mil is a bit of a
35
squeeze to
do
get in.
50
So 35 mil. Remember, you don't have to do a run more than 5 meters.
in ne sme
Then
biti
you've
več
got
kot
the
5 metrov.
CAN bus, believe it or not, is 30 meters maximum. But again, you can only go
Medtem ko
from here
CAN
to
bus
here,
je pa
maximum 5
je pa
meters,
največ
so you don't
30
need
metrov.
30 meters of CAN bus. RS485 cable, again, if you use that, you'll get a kilometer. If you use Cat5, Cat6, you'll get 100
Kabel
meters. And normal 6 mil
in
solar flex between your optimizers and your inverter.
običajni med optimizatorji.
So installing the batteries, obviously make sure everything is turned off. Read the
Ko
manual,
inštalirate
comes with it,
baterije,
read
se
the quick
prepričajte, da
guide,
ni
read
vse
the manual as
ugasnjeno.
well. It's very important you do that. Then make sure that you set the battery dip switches before mounting the battery, and I'll show you where these are.
Potem prepričajte
Make
se,
sure
da
the
je
cables
vse
are
v
the right
redu
length,
pred
so no
nastavitvijo
more than 5
baterije.
meters for the DC to the battery, and mark the polarity. So mark both ends of the
Označite
positive cable.
polarnosti.
Unlike the PV array, which is in series, so plus to minus, the battery connections are always plus to plus.
Na bateriji so vedno povezave plus to plus.
What we're doing on here is we're removing the AC tunnel. This is just a
Tukaj je
component
treba
that houses the
odstraniti
AC connection.
tunel
So the AC
prostorskega
cable
svetega
comes in the
toka.
bottom, as you can see up here, and then runs up the top, and the AC connects in here.
Polecite
So
od
same
spodaj
place
na
on all
gor.
the inverters. It connects exactly the same place. All we're doing is you're just using this tunnel just to protect it.
Samo uporabite tale tunel za povezavo.
As you can see, there's the cable in the tunnel. in
Tukaj
here.
vidimo
Also,
kabel,
we've got some ferrite beads that you must put around the
tukaj
cable
imamo
as well.
peritne obroče,
And then secure the tunnel back on, so the AC cable
potem
now
pa
goes
tunel
through,
spet
has the
pritrdite nazaj.
ferrite beads at the top, and that's it.
In to je
That's
to.
the AC done, pretty simple.
In izmenični tok je
Next is the
stavljen.
DC. Again,
Eno
you can
smetni
see on
tok.
here that the optimizers just connect in, so you've got 2 strings on these.
Tukaj je
And here are
optimizer
the DC cables
priključen,
with, again, a ferrite bead around them. You must put the ferrite bead on.
oba kabla in spet peritni obroč.
So once you've done all of that, you've then got the RS485. I've showed you where the dip switches are on the communication board to start
Tukaj
with.
so dip
This is the
stikala na
connector, which you're familiar with.
komunikacijski
Not familiar with,
plošči.
we do cover this later on. You simply wire a BAG connection.
Tole bomo pogledali pozneje.
BAG is ground. I think the B is is minus and the A is positive.
Mislim da je B minus A je
A
pozitivan.
huge cable size for this because there's only 7 volts traveling on this cable. The most you
V
would
tem kablu gre samo 7
is
voltov
a standard RS485 cable or standard cat.
in to je standard za te kable.
And you only need one pair. You don't need to double up, so just one pair. So
In
one
zato
pair
rabite
with
samo en
blue,
par.
white with blue, or brown, white with brown. That's a pair.
Lahko je
Once
bel,
you've done the
modar,
connections on here,
rjav.
we'll look at these later on anyway. Some connection on the inverter, and then a
Priključek
connection on the meter,
inverterja.
which is just here. That's that side done. Then we've got the installation of the actual battery cables.
Potem imamo namestitev kablov baterije.
Because you have to put heat shrink over the lugs, you know, these the ends here.
Tukaj imamo valovite konce.
You strip the cable, you put the lug on,
Najprej
heat shrink on,
odrežete,
you then
odstranite
put the ferrite coil on. And
zaščito,
when you've done that, you then pass the cable
dodate
through the
feritni
inverter, so not into the
obroč
inverter, but through and out.
in
It's a lot
potem
easier that way than
potegnete
having
kabel
to pull
skozi.
them up, crimp them, put the heat shrink on, and then try and mount them here. So do it before, and then pass the cables
Najprej
through.
naredite to, potem pa kabel
You
samo
can see on
daste
here when you
skozi.
terminate here, there's the ferrite lead there, as such. And
Spet
there's the two.
feritni obroč in kabli.
So the last piece is the communication, and this is for
Zadnja stvar je
cameras.
komunikacija.
And this was the extra bit. So this little bit here, which is on the
Tole je bilo dodano.
there's this bit here blown up, and you can see we've got some dip switches here.
Tukaj imamo dip stikala.
So what you must do, there's two different manufacturers, BYD and LG, as you can
Dva
see.
proizvajalca imamo.
BYD is a switch up, so this is this one, BYD up,
BYD je stikalo gor,
and then
LG
these
stikalo
two
dol.
on. So just be careful that you've got the dip switches. So you've got dip switches inside here for the meter
Tukaj imate dip
communication.
stikala
Obviously, if you have any followers or leaders,
in če imate tukaj sledilce ali
and then the dip switch for the battery.
voditelje,
The CAN bus cable actually just plugs in here.
potem se kabel se tukaj priključi.
There's a dip switch turning on.
Tukaj je dip switch prižgan
This is a compartment you take out, and then you run your
in tale del
RS
vzamete ven
5 cable into here for the
in
CAN
potem
bus.
kabel vodite skozi.
So commissioning and troubleshooting. We have,
Potem zagon in reševanje težav.
not quite sure if we'll carry on and we'll have a little break. I don't think I've got many. Well, I've actually got quite a few slides on here. So if we want to have
Če
a
bi
final,
želeli imeti zdaj kakšen odmor,
we'll carry on if that's okay with everybody.
a gremo
Come
kar
back
naprej.
at 10 past, if that's all right, or 11 minutes past.
Sounds good, Jason. And in the meantime, we will ask also another poll question. I think this is a good time for that.
V tem času bomo pa zastavili še eno anketo.
Yeah, so the question asked should be, it's what kind of support is the most important for you as installers? What kind of support do you need from SolarEdge?
Vprašanje se glasi, kakšne vrste podporo najbolj potrebujete glede SolarEdge izdelkov. Se pravi, ali je tehnična podpora, potem usposabljanje ali tržni material.
Okay, are we all ready to carry on?
Yes, Jason. So we can share, I can share the results.
Še rezultati ankete.
Thank you everyone for voting.
Hvala lepa vsem za glasovanje.
A couple of words, Jason, it's up to you if you want to say a couple of words about the SolarEdge Academy and where people can find the
Yes.
Če bi Jason želel povedati nekaj o Akademiji SolarEdge. Eno vprašanje o tem je bilo v chatu.
Okay, so I'll read the question out. I'm sure you've all got it, but it's asking about backup solution with three-phase inverters.
Vprašanje je bilo o podpori za trifazne inverterje.
By the end of this year, so the second half of this year, we should have a backup solution.
V drugi polovici leta naj bi imeli rešitev za podporo.
A separate box that you simply
In
connect
sicer
to the grid, and then that then connects to the
bo
inverter.
ločena škatla, ki jo povežete na omrežje in potem na inverter.
What happens? It will isolate your existing supply from the grid and then go into backup. And we will be able to support PV generation.
In s tem bomo podpirali fotovoltaično.
So we're allowing our inverters to basically work off grid for a limited time.
In omogočili inverterjem, da delajo zunaj
With
omrežja.
high startup currents, it will unfortunately have a limit, and if it does reach that limit,
Imeli bomo omejitev za začetni
it will
tok.
not support three-phase loads, but it will support single phases on a three-phase system.
In sicer bo podpiral enofazni sistem.
We'll still support 230 volts per phase.
In
Any other
sicer
questions?
230 voltov na fazo.
If you want any other information, please email me and I'll.
Če bi pa želeli še kaj več informacij, mi pa prosim pošljete elektronsko sporočilo.
Commissioning and configuring the troubleshooting.
In sedaj bomo šli naprej na zagon in reševanje težav.
The most important one is the update to make
Najbolj pomembna je posodobitev.
And you just need to follow what's in the manual basically to make
In
sure
sicer
that
samo sledite navodilom za uporabo.
of the inverters often allow it to perform its update.
In zelo pogosto je treba posodabljati inverter.
You can then switch on everything and start again.
In potem se spet prižgete in spet zaženete.
So won't dwell on these too long. This is what I was saying about the firmware installing, depending on how long the inverter's been on.
Prej sem govoril o posodabljanju programske opreme.
Updates to do. If it's pretty much as we expect all our products do, is to be very short time before.
Če gre za novejše izdelke, bo krajši čas. Če so starejše, bo daljši. Zagon. Ko ste to naredili, določite jezik.
Language. And then you carry on as normal. So you've got the communication.
In potem greste naprej po aplikaciji.
Interruption.
Imamo komunikacijo, prekinitev, status.
This is what we're going to look at now. This is purely for this product.
Sedaj bomo pogledali konfiguracijo inverterja, to je samo za te izdelke. In sicer posodobimo iz strežnika in potem namestimo na baterijo. Ko boste to parkrat naredili, bo zelo enostavno. Baterije je treba povedati, kaj naj naredi, kdaj je potreben izpust. Lahko nastavite na izpust, na polnjenje, shranite za en dan, za en večer. Tukaj je nadzor hranjenja,
much reserve you want in your battery.
koliko
We
rezerve
reduce it to is about 11%. You can
in
go down to
največ lahko
90%,
zmanjšate
but
za 11
11% is
odstotkov.
pretty much it. Then you need to tell it to charge from the grid. So
Potem je treba povedati, naj se polni iz omrežja.
0%, it will go to 6% and then it will charge again up to 9%.
Gre od nič na 6 do 9,
9% should there be
problem.
EV excess to charge it. You can also set the limit of discharge and things.
Lahko nastavite tudi omejitev praznjenja.
Again, here a different one here. We've got a backup reserve on there for.
Tukaj imamo podporno rezervo.
Thing that you need to bear in mind when you do have the backup device, which when it comes,
Če imate podporno napravo,
make sure how much battery you want it to discharge to. So if you have a 20
morate nastaviti, koliko želite baterije, da se izprazni.
maximum to 50%, so you'll always have 12 kilowatts.
15 kW baterije.
And then do configuration. So you've got turn
Tukaj je
on
konfiguracija.
sorry, turn on the LG battery, the circuit breaker, and make sure the BYD
Tukaj imamo za varnostno stikalo.
then you can see on here what you can select.
Vidite, da baterije imate.
Camera status, they should all be showing in the status.
Tukaj imamo status.
All commercial inverters, and you will be able to retrofit these so that SC25K and above, absolutely. We're looking at the 15 kilowatts supporting those as well.
Delamo na tem, da bo vse to podprto tudi za 15 kW.
So monitoring.
Spremljanje.
If you're not familiar with the
Spremljanje.
computer,
In to vidite na vašem računalniku.
But what you can see up here is you've got an overview at the top, you've got the layout,
Imamo vzorno ploščo,
charts, reports,
poročila, opozorila.
but this is a bit we really need to look at. So this bit here shows
Pomembno je
you
pa
where
tole.
the energy is going. So it's going to the home, then going to the grid. Why is it
Tukaj
going to the grid?
puščica označuje, kako gre energija in napolnjenost baterije.
This one here, you can see the grid is also importing, and the
Tukaj
other
vidimo,
ones
da
are
uvaža tudi
exporting.
omrežje
So the battery is now exporting to the
in baterija izvaža.
So there is a slight time delay in how quickly you might see that this turns on.
Gre za zelo kratek zamik,
It's
kako
partly
tole
due to
vidite,
the time it takes the information to get from the inverter to the monitoring, and
ker je
it
treba
reacts
dobiti
quicker than what you
podatke iz
actually see it.
inverterja.
So what you need to pay attention to
Na kaj morate biti pozorni?
when your installation is when your installation is complete,
Pričajte,
switch according
da je varnostno stikalo vključeno.
Remember, it had BYD and LG with different switch positions on different
In na različnih baterijah so stikala na različnih položajih.
So BYD is up, LG is down.
Tukaj imate označeno, kateri proizvajalec je gor, kateri je dol.
Make sure you remember to your dip switches.
Morate vedeti, kje so vaša
It says here,
stikala.
if you don't follow the battery manufacturer's instructions, communication between the battery and the inverter may not work properly.
Ker če ne boste sledili navodilom proizvajalca, komunikacija med baterijo in inverterjem ne bo pravilno delala.
We also have a battery grounding screw.
Tukaj je vijak za ozemljitev baterije.
The inverter. Obviously, if you don't connect the cable correctly, the battery will
In če kabla ne priključite pravilno, baterija ne bo ozemljena.
use the AC tunnel.
Spet uporabite tunel za izmenični tok
The cable then routed through.
in potegnete kabel skozi
The cable back. So got the AC tunnel back.
in potem date tunel nazaj.
Again, we spoke about this, about using 35mm cable.
Tukaj je 35 mm kabel, potem date gor feritni obroč in potegnete skozi inverter.
So from the inside out.
Se pravi od znotraj ven.
And don't forget,
In ne
positive to positive,
pozabite
negative to negative.
plus na plus, minus na minus.
Cut your cable and you put your lugs on it. Make sure you mark up the positive.
In označite pozitivni in negativni kabel. Nekaj dodatnih podatkov o izdelku. Imamo povezavo z enosmernim tokom, z izmeničnim tokom, potem inverter za enkratni, več inverterjev in še dve bateriji, ki sta na voljo. Spet oznake baterij. Potem so pravila glede oblikovanja, zasnove, zasnova niza, prekoračitev enosmernega izmeničnega toka 135 in to je podprto tudi v zasnovi. Naprej bomo pogledali inštalacijo optimizatorja moči.
We've got the benefits of SolarEdge are that you've got the safe DC, you've got the module level, you've also got the output to circuit interruption, but also
Tukaj imamo
don't be confused just by saying, oh, I just need this because of shade.
varnostno stikalo in kar je zelo pomembno osenčenje.
That tree is going to grow, the shading is going to change with the cloud.
In zato je zelo tukaj lahko vidite optimizerje. Biti razdalje 13 mm, 10 spodaj.
Please make sure you use the same MC4s.
In spet pazite, da uporabljate iste priključke. In tukaj imamo oznake, kateri priključki so kompatibilni.
Just for interest, we make 65,000 optimizers per day.
65 optimizerjev na dan naredimo. 65,000 samo za vašo informacijo.
It's nice to know that I've actually remembered stuff and got the details correct. You can see I've got the spacing here.
Pomembno je
I say
spet
13 because it's a little bit easier, but 12.7.
instalacija,
Piece of it, this bit here must be 12.7 or 13 millimeters. If you are connecting the optimizers to your rail or to your roof and you're not fitting the modules down, please make sure that you connect the strings together. So all MC4s should be plugged together basically. And the two, so if we go back to here, the two short ones you can actually plug together. So if you're leaving them over the weekend without putting modules on, these are the string ones, they get plugged together to form a string. and then these plug them together. It won't do any harm to
in
them.
ta dva lahko priključite skupaj, ne bo škodilo.
Each one of them has a QR code on
Vsak ima
here. You
QR
can do
kodo
a couple of different things. You can record them in your own laminated piece of paper
in
in
tukaj
the
lahko označite v
physical
besedilnem
representation of how they are, or you can have a
ovoju
roof and you can just put them like that,
ali
or you
pa
can use the
celo
QR
streho.
scanner on your with a tablet or with a laptop, or you can use the mapper app itself.
Lahko pa tudi
So
uporabljate
the mapper app
aplikacijo
here
za
is free, as I said.
označevanje lokacije.
The beauty of this is it allows you
To je
to scan the
brezplačno.
optimizers
Skenirate
before
optimizerje.
doing the inverter. Just go back. It seems to be running away with itself a little bit here. 1 second. So what we recommend is that you do it in Designer, create the site in Designer, export the site into the monitoring. When
Da
you've
naredite
exported it into the
tako
monitoring,
zasnovo.
you then put that address into your mapping app, and your mapping app, as you're
To
scanning
lahko
the
naredite
optimizers,
v
that will automatically
aplikaciji
update onto the physical layout. You can have as many people
in
as you
v
want on that
aplikaciji bo
site
avtomatsko
using the mapper.
dostopno.
They will be able to scan the optimizers and so on. If there's any confliction, it will notify
Je,
all the
če so
people that
kakršne
have
koli
scanned the
težave,
same optimizer.
bo
So as long as
uporabnik
you're using
to
different
preveril.
logins, it will be perfectly fine. As many people as you want on that site doing it, and it will update automatically. You don't have to press save or update. It
Posodobitve
will do it
so
automatically.
samodejne, avtomatske.
You can do it the old-fashioned way
To
by
naredite tudi na
peeling the stickers
tak
off, put it on
način,
a sheet of paper,
uh,
and you can
tako da
send it to SolarEdge
nalepke
simple. We don't get
nalepite na
many of these
papir,
now, but you can, if you wish, you can send it to us to do,
skenirate in
or
tudi
you can
pošljete
simply
nam.
do it yourself. Scan the stickers,
Spet
that's it. You can also
skenirajte
scan,
nalepke.
once you've put the pieces of stickers on a piece of paper, you can also scan them using the mapper as well. And then populate the site. Very important you do this, because then you know exactly where every module is, every single optimizer as
Tako
well.
boste
Should
natančno
there be any
videli,
issues
kje
of
imate
shading or soiling
kakšen
or
modul.
underperformance, module mismatch, you'll be able to identify that straight away.
In takoj bo kakršna
As we
koli
said,
izmenjava
the long cables, they then plug into each other
Tukaj
because
se
they're part
kabli
of the string, and the short
priključijo
cables
eden
go
v
to the
drugega.
middle. And obviously, if you're leaving
Če
it
greste
overnight,
čez
make
noč,
sure that these are plugged together. The short cables,
Torej,
they're for the modules, and
preverite,
wait
da
for
so
the click.
kratki
Make
kabli
sure that they
skupaj
click.
in da so dobro priključeni.
So, one of the latest ones announcements that we have is
Tukaj je ena
extension
naših
cables.
novejših stvari,
So people
daljši.
sometimes find with older modules that have been there, very early adopters have an older module and they then want to put
Naprimer,
SolarEdge
če
on there to
imate
get the
starejše
maximum out of it,
verzije,
that they're not MC4 connections.
uh,
So what you can do is you can make an extension lead up to 30
sedaj lahko
centimeters, so 300 millimeters,
za
with the
30
MC4
cm
connection on one
podaljšate
end,
s
and
podaljškom.
whatever connector that module has on the other. So you can do that. That's perfectly allowed.
In to
One
je
of the
sedaj
other
polno
things
dovoljeno.
that have changed is that if you have a optimizer that has 4 in the prefix, the part
Če
number,
ima
or is from
optimizer
42,
številko 4
oops,
v številki,
4219, you're allowed to
se
extend
pravi,
that
da
up to
je
8
od
meters on the plus and 8 meters on the minus.
leta
The
2019,
compact ones, if
potem
you're
je
familiar
lahko
with those, you
8
can
metrov
extend
na
those up to
plus
10
strani in
meters.
8 metrov na minus.
Okay. Not on the M1600 though.
Ne pa na M1600.
It says here connectors are watertight only when firmly inserted and
Vsi
locked.
priključki
Do not
so
leave them unconnected
odporni
overnight
na
or in
vodo,
wet
če so
conditions.
dobro
Once the
pripravljeni.
dampness gets into the optimizer and then you plug it into the module or to each other, it's not going to go anywhere. It will stay there and will cause a problem with communication.
In ne pustite nepriključen.
2 modules connected in series for single power optimizer,
Tukaj sta
and
dva
then you've got
modula,
some optimizers have a few
nizu.
inputs. So some are connected in parallel, some are
Nekateri
in
so
series
postavljeni
depending on the
vzporedno,
voltage or
nekateri v
current of the
seriji.
modules. Just make sure you look at the data sheet for this and the manual as to how they should
Poglejte
connect.
podatke v priročniku.
Make sure that the cables are secure.
Potem
It's very important that these are secure. These have got cable ties
vse
on them.
kable.
Cable ties are not the best in the world because they will deteriorate over time. So they're
Vezice
only
niso
plastic, so
najboljše,
they
ker
will
bodo
basically
sčasoma
become brittle
razpadle.
and snap off. What you don't want is this cable
Uh,
rubbing. See these cables underneath here. Maybe
Preprečiti,
rubbing
da bi
against the
kabli
connectors, or
prosto
maybe rubbing
viseli.
against the ballast here, the brick or the roof itself, or a tile.
Da
And
bi
also
bili
don't secure the optimizers. These are
zataknjeni.
very old optimizers with cable ties. What will happen is that they will basically the cable insulation will break. You can see on
Zato,
here
ker
this
to
one is
poškoduje
all white
izolacijo
with gold
kabla.
live, so be careful how you connect them. We don't want any stress or strain on the connection.
Ne želite, da bi bili pod kakršnim koli pritiskom.
Otherwise, you'll get an issue with insulation resistance with ground fault
Težav
issues
pri
as well. They can
izolaciji.
be attributed to the cable itself chafing, the cable being stretched, as you
In
can see
sicer
on
zato,
here,
ker je kabel
stretched,
prepognjen ali pa pretegnjen.
connectors not connected in the right manner,
Priključki
and
niso
things like
pravilno
that. So
priključeni
please be careful with how you connect stuff. Cable
in
ties are
ste
okay, but they're
pozorni
not going to
pri
last forever, so you
vsej
can use
tej
metal cable ties.
vseh teh
This just stops the cables from moving. Another thing is to make sure that you have the correct polarity.
polarnost.
If you connect your test lead with the plus in the right one and the minus in the right
Plus
one,
v
and then
desni
connect it to
minus
the
v levi.
cable, you will get the correct polarity.
In tako boste
If,
dobili pravo
however, you've got
polarnost.
minus, it means that you have the polarity either on one of the cables here is
Če je
incorrect,
minus,
or
potem
one of
pomeni,
the
da
cables
imate
up
eno
here is
polarno
incorrect, and
podarjeno
you're getting
kablov.
reverse polarity. The inverter will not start with reverse polarity. If you have a minus voltage on there, the inverter
Inverter
will
ne
not
bo
start.
s poradno
Okay?
polarnostjo ne bo začel delovati.
And then connecting strings extensions. So with
Je
a
povezovanje
residential system, you
podaljškov.
can have up to 150 meters. So from here, it's 150
Lahko
meters
imate
in red,
do
150
150
meters
metrov.
in here. So everything in red is up to 300 meters in total.
Vse,
150,
kar
so
je
150
teče, je
meters maximum
skupaj
here,
300
150
metrov,
meters
se
here.
pravi,
As
ali
long as
pa
all of it
250
adds up to 300 meters, you don't have a problem. And for an inverter over 25 kilowatt, let's go
Za
back one, you can have up to
inverter je
700 meters. Okay?
več kot 25 kW, so pa lahko do 700
Now, I've
metrov
put on
ali pa.
here about extension cables. We've already spoken about extension cables, but here is the prefix. So P,
Tukaj imamo zdaj številko 4,
you can then extend them for 8 meters plus and 8 meters minus. And you can see on
podaljška
here the
pomeni
weak to
8 metrov
19,
plus pa
and
8
that's
metrov.
represented here. So the S and J is the manufacturing plant,
SJ je
the 50
predelovalec,
is the weak number, and the 19 is the A. And that's the same for all SolarEdge products. The first two
In
letters are the manufacturing plant where
vedno
it came from. The next one is weak, and then you.
prva je vedno
So anything
proizvajalec,
that has
potem
a
7
4 on it, or it
metrov.
has these information, you can extend up to 8
In
meters
če
plus
imate
or
to,
minus.
potem lahko podaljšate za do 16.
With the compact optimizer, you can do 10 meters on the minus and 10 meters
Pri
on the plus.
compact
And
optimizerjih pa
between row to row, you're allowed to do those as long as you don't exceed the 700 meters or 300
ne
meters
smete
that
pa
we talked about
preseči
earlier.
meje 700 metrov.
Again, adapter cables already mentioned.
So kabli adapterjev,
Basically, if you have to connect to a module that's not a MC4 connector,
ne
you can by
morete
all means, that's not a problem. Just
povezati
make
s
sure you
modulom,
don't exceed 40 centimeters.
z drugačnim modulom, potem ne sme kabel presegati.
Pairing of the optimizers. Well, we've already spoken about this. You know the three ways. One is with the
Optimizerjev
switch
in
over 5
inverterjev.
seconds from one position to P position and release. If you hold that for over 5 seconds, it will pair. You can do the pairing in the setup, or you can do the pairing from the
Povezovanje.
So the next one is the SolarEdge energy meter with Modbus connection.
Potem imamo števec s
This is
povezavo
the
Modbus.
meter we were talking about earlier for the storage, and you can see on here.
To je
it's the
števec
meter.
za shranjevanje, o katerem smo
The
že
position of
govorili.
this is at
vedno je
The
pri
reason we wanted the
omrežju,
grid is so we can get the import and export reading
zato
from
da
the
lahko
grid. We don't
dobimo
want it on a load.
odtavanje
This is on
izvoza in uvoza.
So export and import is basically what goes to the grid and what comes in.
In tukaj števec šteje, kaj
Very
gre
good
v omrežje in
information
iz omrežja.
that the inverter needs, because then it will tell the battery whether to charge
In
or discharge.
inverter rabi te podatke za
The other
baterije, ali
terminal
naj
is
se polni
consumption,
ali prazni.
consumption meter, self-consumption, and production.
Števec
So you can all list
porabe,
the
samoporaba,
meters as well,
proizvodnja.
depending where you put it. But we mainly want it on the import and export here.
Najbolj pa števec rabimo za uvoz in izvoz.
So product description, let's have a look at it. For residential commercial installations,
Za
you can do all the things
stanovanjske
we just spoke
poslovne
about.
namene,
We need it for maximum self-consumption, for
za
export limit,
kar
things like
največje
that.
povečanje
Supports single and
samoporabe,
three-phase grids and has CTs.
podpira
This here is
enofazno,
the
trifazno.
power, neutral, L1, L2, L3.
Potem
Then
so
we've got
transformatorji in tukaj,
CT3 here.
tukaj je
Underneath, so be
številka
careful
3,
you don't get confused. So CT3, CT2,
2
CT1,
in
and then
1.
1, 2, and 3. These do not relate to this.
In
So don't get
ti
confused.
se ne
And then
nanašajo,
you've got
to ne zmede.
then you've got BAG connections on here. This is what you get in the packet. You get the
To
meter,
piše v
you get an
paketu,
instruction book, you get
števec,
some screws, and you get the DRL
diake,
mounting bracket here.
nosilec in navodila za
So what would
uporabo.
you use it for? Let's have a look.
Zakaj boste uporabljali števec?
So you want to get the correct information, so what the inverter is
Se
doing,
pravi
so you
informacije,
can
kaj
measure production.
inverter dela.
The CT would be measured by or installed by the
Kaj
inverter,
bo
and that would measure
transformator
production.
toka merjen.
Application 2 is export and import. Again, the
Potem
meter's in the same
spet
place, but the CT is now at the
uvoz,
grid
uvoz.
area, and the grid arrow's pointing to the grid. Consumption, it's pointing to the
Poraba,
load.
merjenje
Okay,
porabe.
so we go back one. Oops. So for export and import, it's pointing towards the grid,
Pravi za uvoz in
and
izvoz
for
gre proti
consumption,
omrežju,
it's pointing towards the load.
za porabo
So the
pa
connection
proti
options, so
obremenitvam.
RS485 here.
Tukaj
Obviously, it goes to this
imamo
one here.
kabel do
We
inverterja.
spoke about RS485 cable and Cat5 and Cat6 and
Prej
which
smo
one's
že
better.
govorili o kablih.
You can see on here how we've got RS485 with leader and follower on
Tukaj
one
vidimo,
bus,
kako
and
imamo
the meter is on the
kable
other bus,
spodnje
so
in spodnje.
RS485 and RS485 Both of them are supported, and
Oba
remember
sta
to do the
podprta.
dip switches for end of line for both of them. So if it's
In
the
za
leader,
oba
you
imamo
must do the end
stikalo
of
za
line dip
konec
switch, and
linije.
the very last follower, you must do the dip switch, and the same for here. This one here has got, you'll see the dip switches later on. This has a dip switch on it, and the inverter has a dip switch as well.
Tukaj imamo dip stikala na
You
inverterju
can
in na
also
števcu.
support a commercial gateway.
Uh,
Again, they have
Ja,
two
tudi komercialni
RS485s,
vhod,
one for leader and for followers, and
enega
also
za
one for
vodjo
limited.
in
So you
za
can use it
sledilce
either one. It doesn't matter which one you use.
in lahko uporabite
So the
katerikoli
meter
kabel.
interfaces, let's have a look.
Tukaj so vmesniki števca,
L1, L2, and L3 CTs.
spet
These
imamo
are L1,
pretvornike
L2,
toka
L3, and then we've got the BAG connections here.
in potem
Please don't
povezave
get
za
confused
kable.
with this. Please look at the embossing as well. And you
In
should have
pazite, da
much
ne
better stickers
pomešate,
here as well. Okay, so please don't get confused with that.
ne vas to ne zmede.
The lights here, 1, 2, and 3. This is flashing.
Imamo
2
lučke,
is flashing as well.
ena in
Operation
tri
is
pa ta,
normal to blink.
to je
Communication is
običajno,
normal to blink. And yellow is
vojska
indicates total energy measured. Okay.
in
So they all should be
potem
blinking, but at
rumena,
different times.
vse morajo utripati ob različnih časih.
These are your dip switches here for ID. Remember
Tu
that
so
we can have
dip
ID
skala
1, 2, or 3. And you
za
can set that on
identifikacijo.
your setup connections, which we will look at later on. Oops. And you can see on here that factory default is
Okay.
obviously 2, is that one
Tovarniška
is up.
nastavitev je 2
And you can see on here where that is
in
at the bottom.
vidite
And
to
that's
spodaj
ID2. Okay.
in oznaka dvojka.
This is the end of line,
To je
not
konec
terminated
linije,
factory default. So terminate 1 and terminate 2. Okay, a dip
ena,
switch is here
dve.
for the RS485. So installing the meter, you don't need to have a 20 amp MCB. You can have smaller than that. It really
Lahko
doesn't take
imate
much power
manjše kot
to actually energize
20.
this. Here is your twisted pair. You can see that the
Tukaj
blue
imate
and white with
zviti
blue is a
kabel,
pair. The orange and white with orange is another pair. So that's fair. You only need 2
belo,
cables.
modar,
2
oranžni
cables
del,
for B and the A and 1 cable on its own for G.
dva kabla.
So let's have a look at the mounting the meter and the transformers and so on.
Poglejmo zdaj
So you've got the
inštalacijo
DIN rail
števca.
brackets, as we've said, connects to a DIN rail.
Tukaj imamo DIN vodilo.
It's pretty straightforward. You can also fit it directly to the back of a box as well.
Lahko ga namestite direktno
These
na
are the mounting holes for
zadnjo
the
stran
DIN
škatle.
rail brackets.
Tukaj so luknje za montažo.
There's your CT, and if you look in here, you can see, whoops, too far, sorry. Let's go back. You can see that the CT has an arrow pointing.
Tukaj vidimo, da je na pretvorniku toka ena
This is what
puščica
you need to make sure that points to the grid.
in pomembno je,
Again,
da
these are different
je
amps.
to
This is 200
usmerjeno,
amps.
da
Most
puščica kaže
importantly, you
proti
must use
omrežju.
the SolarEdge CTs because we run on 0.333 volts as opposed to a
Delamo
ratio. So
na
you
nič
must use these
4,3
ones.
voltih
If you don't, it won't work basically.
in
So here's the CTs and the corresponding phases.
tukaj so
L1,
pretvorniki
L2,
toka,
L3,
ustrezne
and you can
faze
see on here
in
and
dva
so on. And then you've also got your RS485 connections, A being a plus,
in
B
spet
being a
A je
minus,
plus,
and G
B je
being a
minus, G je ozemljitev.
CTs themselves are connected as such. Remember, this is
Pretvorniki
CT
toka
number 3,
so
2,
povezani
and 1.
3, 2, 1.
Don't worry, you will get this presentation as well, so you don't have to worry.
To predstavitev boste tudi dobili, zato mi vam ni treba skrbeti.
And here again is the communication board that we spoke about. Here are the
Komunikacijska
dip
plošča.
switches. Here are the BAG connections you can see. Now you can have any of them. It doesn't matter which one you
Imate
put
lahko katerokoli
your
od
meter
povezav.
or your follower and leaders in, as long as you do the dip switches. There is only 2 products that I know you
Pomembne
must
so
have
tip
a
stikala.
specific place. For the EV charging inverter, you must connect the meter in RS481. For the single phase storage inverter, not the one we're looking at today, but for the single phase one, you must use RS485
Enosmerni inverter, ki ga pa danes ne obravnavamo, pa je pa treba
So meter configuration,
konfiguracija.
you know how to get onto the inverter, you scan the QR code, you
Spet
connect to it,
skenirate
and then you
QR
can go
kodo,
into commissioning. You've got
zagon,
site
potem
communication,
komunikacija
not monitoring, site
lokacije,
communication, RS481,
potem
RS482, then
berete,
set up the protocol. Remember,
zberete
this is a meter,
protokol
so we want to go to
in
Modbus
prispevek gremo na
multi-devices. Why
Modbus,
multi-devices? Because it
multiple
allows
devices.
you to put the battery on there. You can have 3 different meters, meter 1,
Imate
meter
lahko
2, meter 3,
30
and you can have
seštevke.
battery 1, battery 2, okay? You can also do non-SolarEdge loggers as well. So
Lahko se
battery 1, battery
prijavite
2,
na
meter
non-SV
3, 2.
logger.
Once you get to that stage of multi-devices, then you add
Idete
the
na
meter.
multi-devices, potem
You've got a choice
dodate
of meter or
Modbus
battery.
device,
So you'll go
zberete
to meter, and then you get meter 1.
in
This is
potem
the first
pevete
one.
ena.
What you'll notice, because it says meter 1, you'll also see, whoops, go back, it will say device ID 1. So you'd have to change this to 2. Do you
Potem
remember
morate
how the meter
spremeniti
has a dip switch
identifikacijo
of 2?
naprave na
It
2.
was set to ID 2. The CT should automatically happen.
Tale
Just choose what one.
avtomat
We always
odtoka
recommend
je avtomatski
export and import as the best one.
in
That's what we
potem
recommend
najboljši
you
je
use.
izvoz, uvoz.
These are different features on here, as I said: production,
potem
export and
različne
import,
funkcije
consumption, site
števca,
production, external production, all on
proizvodnja,
here.
uvoz,
This is
izvoz,
the most
poraba
export and import.
proizvodnje na lokaciji in tako dalje.
This is automatically set for ID2 because we
Tole
chose
je
it.
avtomatsko
This
za
has got
identifikacijo
ID2 on
cest
here. This has got ID2 on here. Current rating of
in
100.
potem
You can set the current rating yourself, and at each point
ki
just
ga
press
lahko
done.
nastavite tudi sami.
When you've done all that, you can look in the status.
Potem
You
lahko
can see
pogledate na status,
Modbus 1 of 1
videli Modbus
because
1
we're in
ena.
RS4851. You can see it's RS4851 Modbus ID2.
In
That's perfect.
tukaj je
Then
modus
we can see the import meter, the serial number. We can see status
števec
is okay
uvoza,
and what it's doing.
status ok.
If you don't have this here, if you don't
Če,
see
če
Modbus
nimate
NC
tega,
or
ne,
something like that, it
Modbus
means not connected. If you see
pomeni, da ni
communication error,
povezan.
it will be your BAG connection. So always have a look at the BAG connections.
Vedno
If it's not the BAG connections,
pogledajte, da je
then it
komunikacija
might be
BAG.
the meter to the CT connection. So just check those. But that's all it will be. That's a communication.
To
The
je
AC side is
komunikacija.
obviously the AC connection, but communication can either be the CT or BAG.
Komunikacija lahko CT ali BAG.
Again, make sure that the correct CT is on the corresponding phase. So
Potem vedno
don't
preverite,
twist
da je
them
ta
together.
informator
Don't run
tako
with
pravi
AC
pas.
cables. Try and make sure that they're separate. If they are too long, then please cut them to the
Pazite, da so
longest one as such, or the shortest
kabli
one. Make sure they're all the same length.
ločeni, da so vsi
Don't
iste
twist them
dolžine.
together. Try and keep them separate, and please don't have coils of cable
In pazite, da
in your
kabel ni
enclosure
vpit.
as well. Accessories.
Dodatne
What have we got? Let's have a look. We've got the commercial gateway.
Imamo
This device
komercialni
here has the
prihod,
two RS485s at the top. This allows us to do the follower and leader and also connect to the meter. It also allows us to have sensors at the bottom, and it also allows us to do the PRI,
tukaj
so the
podatke lahko
power reduction
prenašamo
interface at the top,
preko
which we showed you on the
računov.
communication board. You can have up to 3 different sensors on here. So you can have
Imamo
a
lahko
radiant
tri
sensor,
različne senzorje,
ambient temperature,
direktno
module temperature. You can have those
obsevanje
3 on it, or if you want to have wind,
temperatura
you have to have that on its own.
in hitrost vetra.
These are the radiant sensor here. I can never remember
To
which
je
one it
sestevanje,
is. One of these is the ambient, and one of these is the
temperatura okolja,
module temperature.
temperatura
You can see
modula.
on here the voltage range. So this is all
Tukaj
pre-programmed.
so
If you do have an
razponi
issue with it, support will
napetosti.
gladly sort it out for you. You should simply connect them to it, and it won't be a problem. It will all be perfectly fine.
In jih samo
There is
povežete.
one thing one point to raise. We do have a
Na
at the bottom
tej
here. You will get this
povezavi
presentation with
imate
this.
seznam.
It gives you the supported devices and what they are, and these are shown on here on the next slide.
Prikazani
Some
so
of these
tudi
have
tukaj
an asterisk of 1, and some have 2.
z
You can see on here the ones with 1, or the ones with none, I should say, like
enim.
this one here. So if you look at this one here,
Če
these
pogledamo,
ones, this one, and this one, which are your common ones here, these do
so
not
stile so
require a
najbolj
transformer.
pogosti
But
in ne
these ones
zahtevajo
do. The numbers
transformatorja.
with 2, they require a transformer. So just
Nekateri
make
pa
sure you've got
zahtevajo
the right part number. From my experience, you will always get the right one now. You won't be able to buy one that needs a transformer. So please don't worry.
Trenutno ne
Just for your information, if you find that you've got old
rabijo
sensors and you're
transformatorja.
trying to use them on the CCG, just make sure you've got the right one. We do support pyranometer and
Imamo tudi
velocity
piranometer
direction. Again, these are the models that we support.
in to so moduli, ki jih podpiramo.
A firefighter gateway.
Potem
Firefighter
imamo
gateway is
prehod.
a device. It doesn't do the safety C. It doesn't control safety C, but it helps.
Ne
These inverters
nadzira
themselves, as I
varnosti.
said, if you were to turn the AC off, they would shut down to 1 volt per
Če
optimizer. If you were to
ugasnite
disconnect the
izgince tu,
DC, cut the DC, if there was an arc defaults and you had
Um,
ultimate enabled,
če
again, it would drop
prekinete
down to 1 volt.
enosmerni
Even if you
tok,
turn it off, it
zaradi
will drop down to
obloka.
1 volt. What the Firefighter Gateway does is
Um,
the Firefighter Gateway
Gasilski
links to your
prehod
fire alarm panel and also to an emergency stop.
pa je
So if you
priključen
were to
na
discover a
alarm za
fire,
požar
you could press on the
uh,
emergency stop and all
in
of the inverters
bom
would
za,
run and production would be down to zero.
da
It'd
se
still be
ugasne
AC,
vsi.
but production would be zero. That would mean that every single optimizer connected to this site would end up with below 50 volts per string or 1 volt per optimizer. The
Da
same
bo
way if the
samo
fire
en
alarm
volt na
detects
optimizer.
a fire, so your smoke detectors or heat detectors, they detect a fire.
Uh,
What will happen is
le
it will then
alegorna
shut
plošča
or put a voltage on auxiliary
krije
contact.
povečanje
This will
temperature
then get the information, the contact will turn
in
off or open
potem
or
to
close, and
sporočilo
then
pošlje
again it
prehodu.
will communicate to the inverters, and all the inverters will
Prehod,
shut down production and they will
prehod
wait until this device
kontaktira
is reset.
inverterje
So this
ki
is normally
stavijo
put in the
proizvod.
reception. You would then press the emergency stop or the fire alarm will go off and all the
In
inverters will
tako da
shut down.
stisnete gumb ali pa
One of the most
stisnete
common
alarm
things we
požar.
get is people calling us saying, "Oh, we've just we did a fire alarm test the other day and
Nekateri pravijo, da
none
so
of the
naredili
inverters have
test
come back on." And
in
we say that's
nobeden
perfect
in
because it's exactly what it should do. It shouldn't come back on
potem
until
nobeden od
you've
inverterjev
reset
ni
the
prižgal.
device. Okay, so that does its job. This is just a link between an emergency stop and a fire alarm to get them to
In
the
to je
inverters
točno
have
to, kar
safety
ta
C. The
gasilski
inverters will
prehod
do all the
dela.
safety C just as they are anyway. This is just a link between the fire alarm panel.
To
Great
je samo
device.
povezava med nadzorno
So
ploščo
the gateway
za
itself,
alarm za požare.
let's have a look. Again, supports up to
In
31 devices. This is
imamo
the leader, these are the followers.
um,
RS485 cable,
podaljšanje
is your kilometer.
tega.
Cat 4, Cat 6.
Tukaj
gives you
imamo
100
do
meters.
100
So
metrov
exactly
za
the same.
internet.
You can have the sensors connected to it. We've already
Lahko
talked about the sensors on here.
povežete na senzorje.
You can install the sensors. We recommend that the
Senzorje lahko
sensor is
namestite.
level with the module.
Namestite
Also,
jih
the
v
ambient
izpolnjeno
temperature
podrobo.
and the module temperature is associated with this as well.
In s tem je
If
povezana
you
tudi
have different
temperatura modula.
arrays, so different azimuths, different tilts, then you would need
Če imate
the
različne
sensor,
nagibe,
the sensors, the group of sensors, the irradiance, the
potem rabite več senzorjev.
ambient and the module at each. So you can see on here we've got different
Na
angles. So
vsakem
what you've got here, you
nagibu
would expect to see on this
vsak
side as well.
boste rabili svoj
And all
senzor.
that will contribute to the performance ratio.
In to zelo
Contact
prispeva
support. We've got a few minutes left and we should be able to cover this.
proizvodnji.
I'll just skip through a couple of slides just to give you the most important information. But basically, support is here to help
Podpora.
you, to train you, to educate you before
Mi
you go
vas
to site,
usposabljamo,
while you're on site,
usposabljamo
and after you've left site. So that's what support's for. Help
in
in any way you
ter
can,
pred,
before,
med
during, and after.
in po instalaciji.
Most important, if you do have an issue, is
Imate
describe the problem as best you can.
ga opišite
Put
čim
down
bolj
as much
natančno.
information as you can, what you've done, what you've found,
Povejte, kaj je
serial
narobe, kaj
numbers, and also pictures, as many pictures of the thing as possible. If it's a
poslikajte, če se vidi.
communication issue and you've got loads of pictures,
Navedite
put pictures on
lokacijo.
there. More pictures, the more the merrier.
In več, če bo slik, lažje bomo rešili problem.
When you go to support, you get the choice of I am a system owner or I am an installer.
Lahko greste
Obviously,
na
you want to click on I am an installer.
I am a
Just got a
system
question here.
owner, se pravi lasnik ali
Okay, some companies already
monter.
have systems with weather data and measure energy from bigger consumption heat pumps, EV charger, washing machines, etc. Due to charge, discharge, or plan for battery. When will SolarEdge include these things? So these are coming. All these things are
vprašanje.
coming. Okay, we will be adding a lot more to my SolarEdge. My SolarEdge app is changing. It will be
Vprašanje je bilo,
version 2
glede, kdaj bo
very
My
soon, and you
Solar
will see lots of exciting stuff on there.
Edge, kdaj bodo dodani vsi izdelki in odgovor na
So yeah, I am an installer, and then enter your email
rečete,
and
sem
password.
monter,
When you've
unesete
done that, you can then
naslov,
open a new case. You
odprite
can
nov
look at knowledge base
zahtevo.
for information, application notes. You can look at cases you've
lahko
closed.
gledate
You
na
can see the ones that we
rešene
have
primere.
when you do open a case, it's
Ko
important
odprete
to give
novo
much
zadevo,
information, whatever it is, and the subject
povejte, kaj je
appears. So if your
zadeva.
subject is building 1, 2, 3, it will come up subject building 1, 2, 3. So your subject, whatever you want to put in here, you
Se
put in
pravi,
here.
karkoli tukaj lahko
Information,
pišete,
some of the
potem
mandatory,
izpolnite vse
that's
ostale
what's
primere.
most of all good description.
In
You've got
čim
support
boljši
on
opis.
here. You've got my email.
Tukaj
if you want
imate
to get through to
različne
the support as
elektronske
well.
pošte.
Most of you probably do use a support for UK.
Večina vas
We do
verjetno
have support
uporablja
for regions as
support
well.
UK, Združeno
Phone numbers
kraljestvo,
again, we have UK phone number, but
potem
we also
imate
have rest of
telefonske
world, and
številke.
we have other phone numbers on here as well. When you open
In
a
ko
case,
odprete
it will be
primer
looked at, and if we find that we have all the information, we will give
in
you
potem
an
dobite
RMA. If we
številko
don't have all the information, we'll
RMA.
ask you for some more information. We're not being difficult, it's just that we need information.
Če rabimo dodatne
Once it's processed, you will be sent
informacije,
a
vas
replacement,
vprašamo,
and you will then have
potem
to send,
odobrimo
if it's an inverter,
nadomestni
that
del
inverter back to us. So that will happen
okvarjenega.
on SolarEdge. If you keep the inverter, if you sell that inverter, or if you do something else with that inverter, you will have to send every single product that you have
Če
that's faulty back to us.
nekaj
before we will
zamenjate,
send you a good one.
potem
So that
morate
shows
okvarjeni
that we
del
trust you as an
poslati
installer,
nam nazaj.
we trust your judgment.
Zaupamo vam, da nam boste to
So
poslali.
if you do find you have a problem, we'll send you a replacement part, and if it's an inverter, we want that back. If it's an
Inverter je
then
želimo nazaj.
we'll probably ask you to dispose of it with the WE regulations, or maybe you have to give
Ali
it back.
pa za ostale dele jih pa morate odlagati
So that
skladno
is
z
it.
direktivo
I've finished. I've got a minute to go.
To bi bilo to. Eno
More than happy
minuto
to
imamo
answer as
še.
many questions as possible.
Hvala lepa.
We'll stop
Če
sharing
je
my
kakšno
screen now.
vprašanje,
So if you have any questions, please ask away.
če imate kakšno vprašanje, kar vprašajte
Hand over to
drugim.
Thanks, Jason. Yeah, there is a question in the Q&A.
Eno vprašanje.
And while you're reading it, I would like to also emphasize that anyone who has questions, you can either type them in the Q&A,
Vprašanje lahko pišete v
also raise your hand and we can
vprašanje odgovori, lahko pa tudi dvignete roko.
allow you to ask the question, so we can unmute you.
Okay, so the question in the Q&A was about batteries. So that is coming in my
Eno
solar.
vprašanje o bateriji,
So that should be available soon. So that's the Q&A. I'm going to have a look at the chat now.
ki bi moralo biti,
Me.
ki bo kmalu na voljo.
Answered. No, can't see anything new.
Ne, ni vprašanj.
Uroš, yes, we are recording this webinar, both in
Ja,
English
snemamo
and
ta
Slovenian,
webinar.
so you will be able to find the recordings, I believe, on SolarEdge YouTube channel.
In
Our
boste
plan
na voljo na
is to
YouTube
upload it
kanalu
hopefully within a few days. So
v parih
you will
dneh.
receive a notification about it.
Boste dobili sporočilo o tem.
Jason, maybe I can ask a question because we had a poll about the support from SolarEdge, and there were
Of course.
Mojo anketo v
quite
podpori
a few people who were interested in the trainings.
kar nekaj ljudi je bilo
You were mentioning, or Peter was mentioning it in the basic seminar on
Yes.
Friday.
I will
Jason
find
bi
the
lahko
appropriate
povedal kaj o
screen and I
seminarju.
will share it with you. 1 second. Okay. Yes, so what we have is, here is the SolarEdge website.
Tukaj je spletna in sicer imamo login in lahko Edge Academija. In lahko dostopate tudi preko education.
I imagine you can all see my screen. I'm hoping you can.
In potem imamo tukaj usposabljanje.
Training. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So click on training, and here we go, and it opens up. And you've got, want to learn more about SolarEdge.
Tukaj imamo seminarje, webinarje in Akademijo Edge.
Shortly, but I just want to show you something here.
Nekaj bi vam pokazal.
Find the region that you want. So at the moment for
Tukaj
UK and Ireland, we've got
boste našli regijo.
and some that are on.
Tukaj vidite, kaj je trenutno, kaj poteka, potem o čem so.
Physical layout, the alerts, the analysis.
Naprimer, fizična razporeditev, opozorila, kako dolgo trajajo seminarji.
Go to the Edge Academy.
Lahko pa gremo na akademijo.
There we go,
in tukaj se.
And we've got this is the Edge Academy. This is what you would see.
In tukaj boste videli prvo stran, potem imamo moji tečaji, katalog tečajev.
There will be 2 or 3 courses open to you.
2 ali 3 so vedno odprti.
Access to this one.
In tukaj potem kliknemo na določen tečaj. Lahko kliknemo na moji tečaji.
We've got new alerts training, you should be able to see.
Potem imamo usposabljanje za stranke. Tehnično usposabljanje. Tukaj je usposabljanje o izdelkih. Imamo tudi osnovne. Tukaj je osnovni tečaj. Ni popolnoma začetni, ampak srednja stopnja. Od uvoda, optimizatorji moči, inverterji, platforma za spremljanje, certificiranje. In po zaključku dobite tudi potrdilo o usposabljanju. In do kdaj so ta to potrdilo veljavno. Tukaj nekaj drugih vprašanj. Tole vse skupaj traja približno 1 uro in pol. Potem vprašanja. Bom dal link na tole v chat, da boste lahko vsi dostopali. Aha, sedaj mora biti chat.
Thank you. Great. And I think that the question, there were also people who were interested in in-person trainings. However, as far as I know, those are not available.
Ljudi je zanimalo tudi.
They're only available in like Netherlands, France.
Okay.
Usposabljanje v živo. Nekaj usposabljanja lahko naredimo preko Zooma. In takoj, ko bodo omejitve, ko ne bo več omejitev, sem prepričan, da bomo lahko naredili, ker imamo v vseh regijah ljudi, ki to lahko naredijo. Če niste o čem prepričani, če imate kakšno lokacijo, veliko lokacijo, kontaktirajte nas in bomo uredili.
Okay, so if there is one more question on if you have authorized partner in Bulgaria. I'm not sure if this is a question towards.
A imate pooblaščenega partnerja v Bolgariji?
So from SolarEdge side, I can only say that we do have several installers as far as I know. My colleague Nikola knows better. but you can email us or email Nicola.
Ja, mislim, da bo najbolje, da nam pošljete elektronsko sporočilo, pa vam bomo sporočili, oziroma Jason, če veste.
So, Petra would be better to answer that, who you had on Monday, I think.
Ja, bolje, da kontaktiramo Petro in bo ona več vedela o tem. Bom natipkal Petrijev elektronsko pošto.
All right. So I believe if we have no more questions, then thank you very much, Jason, for the
No
presentation.
problem.
Če nimate več vprašanj, potem Jason, hvala lepa.
Thank you everyone
Hvala
for
lepa, da ste me
participating.
povabili.
And as we
Hvala
said,
lepa
it will be
vsem
available in a few days in our YouTube
za
channel.
udeležbo. Na
And you
YouTubeu
will
bo v
receive the
kratkem
presentations as well over email.
objavljen
So,
posnetek. Prijeli boste pa tudi celotno prezentacijo.
Thank you very much for your time.
Hvala lepa za vaš čas in za udeležbo. Lepo se imejte.